Ladies and gentlemen, it's scooter time. Are you ready for scooter time? Here's our host who will make your liver shiver. He will make your knees freeze. He'll make your bladder splatter.
Whoa, Kilani, dial it back a little bit. I'm not going to make anybody's bladder splatter. However, in this episode, the 25th episode of the Electric Scooter Podcast, wow, that's the silver anniversary. I guess that's if it were years. We're only weekly. But the 25th symbolizes brilliance, radiance, and the value of a long-lasting relationship. So, hey, let's hope your relationship with Electric Scooter Podcast continues. But back to what I was saying about splattering bladders. Today, I am going to talk a little bit about the agency that controls splattering bladders as they pertain to electric scooters. The USCPSC, which is the United States Consumer Product Safety Commission. If you think that it's the Department of Transportation that has to deal with scooters, that has cognizance over electric scooters, it's not. It's actually the USCPSC. They're charged with protecting the public from unreasonable risks of injury or death associated with just thousands of different types of consumer products. Deaths, injuries, property damage from product incidents. They, according to them, cost more than $1 trillion to the U.S. government every year. Maybe that's true. But they do have to justify their existence, right? They, according to them, work to ensure the safety of consumer products. And they claim that safety has contributed to a decline in the rate of deaths and injuries associated with consumer products over the past 40 years. Well, I'm sure that's probably true, and they probably didn't keep great records back then. So we're going to talk about the USCPSC, and then we're going to have a conversation with Zero to Epic. And this is one I've been waiting for. I think it's a very interesting topic. I just wanted to know, I use the word cool, but what states did he enjoy scootering through the most and why? And he'll mention a couple states maybe that weren't so enjoyable for different reasons. I mean, there's things you can't control like weather and that kind of thing, but local governments can control potholes and, how the police treat people on electric scooters and those kind of things. So those are exciting topics that are coming up in the 25th episode of the Electric Scooter Podcast.
Well, it's time for the news. Electric Scooter Podcast News. It's time for the news. All right, you get the idea. It's time for the news.
The aforementioned USCPSC, United States Consumer Product Safety Commission, themselves commissioned a study that studied micromobility incidents and accidents between the years 2017 and 19. This includes electric scooters, and probably electric scooters are a large part of the data that they studied, or in some countries, as they say, data. I was in South Africa trying to add some minutes to my telephone. And I kept saying, I'd like some data. And they're calling people from different parts of the store. Do you guys, anybody know what this guy is saying? By the way, these are the same people that call red lights, green light, traffic lights. They call them robots. Turn left at the third robot. And I was saying data, and somebody said data. He's trying to buy data. Okay, so this data/data came up with 41 fatalities, 2017 to 19, in the United States, associated with micromobility products. So you can't really break that down and say how many were electric scooters, because just a guess, but I'm thinking that the single-wheel unicycle electric powered vehicles, come on, there's a word for that, Dagwood, what is it? Probably account for a good percentage. They probably have a higher rate of accidents per vehicle, although there are way less of them. And I've read subsequent studies that after I give you all these facts, I will tell you to just, manage your fear a little bit, because it's not as bad as it sounds. So here we go. From 2017 through 2019, there were 133,000 emergency room visits associated. That's with all micromobility products. A lot of them, it just says, involved e-scooters, which it says rose from 7,700 in 2017 to 14,500 in 2018, and peaking at 27,700 in 2019. So that's 27,700 e-scooter accidents in 2019. Now, let me provide you a little insight, because I read a little longer version of this condensed data that I'm currently reading, and it said fully 80% of electric scooter admissions to emergency rooms had two factors in common: not wearing a helmet, got to protect your melon, Scooterheads, and above the legal stated for that state limit on alcohol. In other words, they couldn't have been driving a car, but they were on a scooter and they weren't wearing a helmet. That's 80%. So just listen to these numbers and chillax a little bit, okay? It's not as bad as it sounds. That's what I'm trying to tell you. There were also a lot of hoverboard accidents, and those were mostly kids under the age of 15, while 58% of the injuries involving e-scooters were people aged 25 and older. A lot of stuff they're seeing, obviously, were fractures, fractured bones to be specific, followed by a bunch of contusions, abrasions, so that basically means scrapes. Hey, rub some dirt on it, hop back on your scooter, and mosey off, people. It's an abrasion. It's a contusion. You'll be okay. The most frequently injured body parts were the head and the neck. What does that tell you? That reminds me of one of my favorite quotes from Paul Somerville of the Electric Scooter Guide when I interviewed him. He always wears a full-faced helmet. I don't always do that, man. I got a skid lid and I got some mountain bike helmets. But I would say 90% of the time, anytime you see me on a YouTube video, I am wearing a full-faced helmet. And the reason is, he said, hey, man, the front of my head, that's just about the favorite part of my head. It's got all the good stuff. It's got eyeballs, ears, nose, mouth. So why would you not want to protect that? And I do agree with him. It's just so hot in Las Vegas. If I could find an air-conditioned full face, But again, like I said, I do really, 90% of the time, I'm wearing a full-face helmet. And hey, here's a big shock. Most of the injuries were attributed to people falling down. So people who remained upright on their scooters and commuted between home and work, apparently they were okay. Unless they had a wolf warrior, then they have a little tattoo on their Achilles heel from using the kickstand. If you have a wolf warrior, you know what I'm talking about. So the accidents were caused by users not knowing what they're doing, crashing into other types of motor vehicles, presumably mostly cars, maybe a few motorcycles, and potholes and issues with the pavement were another high-ranking cause of Scooterheads being admitted to the emergency room. So, I don't want to beat a dead horse, and you've heard it a million times, and I don't want to be a killjoy, but let me just go over a couple things that can help you avoid your bladder splattering and keeping your pancreas intact. Number one, always wear a helmet. Come on, that's obvious. Be aware of what's going on around you, 360 degrees, and always be ready to stop. Have your hand hovering near your brake. Before you get on your scooter, just check out your handlebars, look at the brakes. If you have a little cable or hydraulics, not so much unless you want them adjusted differently for you. Check out the throttle. Hopefully you got a little bell, ding, ding, excuse me, Scooterhead coming through. You don't want like some scooter. Well, the only one I know of is a Wolf Warrior that has a 18-wheeler diesel horn on there that is just going to blast people off of the sidewalk. If you're riding at night, check your lights. Always check your tires, cables, loose screws. Come on. When you get your scooter, you need to be checking that stuff anyway, but also in between rides. But when you first got your scooter, hopefully you pulled out the screws that you could, added some thread lock, otherwise known as Loctite, and put them back in nice and snug. If you're really a nerd, you can get the exact torque specs and go ahead and do that. I myself don't do that, but you should. Also, on your scooter, do a couple test runs and see what your stopping distance is, knowing that it's going to be different for every person, every weight, every scooter, just so you know if you come into a potential situation, you know how far you have to stop. Always make yourself bright or seen. If, of course, at night you want to have your headlights and whatever flashing lights your scooter is equipped with, but it's a smart idea. Put a light on your helmet. Back of your helmet is a good idea. I, during the daytime, wear bright neon green jackets when I'm on the road. Now, when I'm off-road, it's a little bit different. I'm not worried about coming to an intersection, but I'm not like most scooter head riders that I do, most of my scootering or a large part of it off-road. But on the roads, make sure you're very visible. You can be seen. Some scooters have an option to where you can a setting for the headlights that you can make them blink real fast. So if you're cruising around in the daytime, set that up so it's easier for cars to see you, especially when you're in parking lots and parking structures and things like that with those columns and people can't see you. While you're riding, expect that drivers and pedestrians aren't going to see you. And if you ride a motorcycle, you know that's true. Use your bell, ding, to alert people, ding-a-ling-a-ling, and don't make any abrupt, unpredictable movements. You can't always avoid that. It's happened to me where someone's walking down the sidewalk the opposite direction. I usually get into the street when that happens, but there are occasions where you cannot, and they do a quick shuffle like to the other side. They don't take into consideration your speed or anything. And here's a tip from Zero to Epic. He says don't listen to music while you're riding. And I kind of don't for the most part, but if I were doing long distance, I might listen to a podcast so I could still hear the background noise. And stunting, hey, up to you. I would say whatever blows your skirt up, but it's probably a good idea not to try your skateboard tricks on an electric scooter. So now, let me go into a little bit of a rant on the US CPSC. Well, maybe rant is an exaggeration. I just kind of want to detail my interactions with their organization so far. Back in early March, I made a phone call and said I had a few questions, and they got back to me pretty promptly. A lady by the name of Carla, I won't give her last name, answered and said, sure, we'd be happy to grant you an interview, because I have a number of questions. I'll tell you a couple of them. I coordinated it with the Electric Scooter Guide and with Zero to Epic to try and get, what the answers to questions that people really want to know. So, like I said, they answered me pretty quickly and then asked me for a list of questions. When I gave them the list of questions, they clammed up. So March and then April, nothing. So May, I started saying, hey, I started sending emails. Hey, I'm ready to do that interview. In their emails, like, sure, yeah, let us know. Just give us some questions and we'll answer, the best that we can and blah, blah, blah. And wow, now it's June and they're still not answering me. Here are a few of the questions that I wanted to ask, whether there's going to be any national guidelines on electric scooters and whether they can be on public roads. Will they be classified in the same way as bicycles or e-bikes? Are they going to set any kind of maximum wattage limit on the motors or weight or dimensions or top speed? Do they have any plans to start requesting riders to have a driver's license or some kind of insurance? What kind of databases they have? Whether Joe Biden's new infrastructure plan includes anything for roads, trails, pathways going through urban areas, because right now they're not micromobility friendly. Let's face it. There's not enough bike lanes, and people who want to ride electric scooters are a lot of times, as we heard from, forced to be in traffic with 18-wheelers, and it can be dangerous. Or they got to jump on the sidewalk, which really they were built for pedestrians. We wanted to know if there are any plans to subsidize shared scooter services. They could help maybe underprivileged communities. Whether there are any plans to make national limits to regulate in those type of shared scooter services. So we had a number of questions, and maybe they were daunting. Maybe they just scared them and they clammed up. So I haven't heard anything back from them. I am going to forward this very podcast, a link to it, just to let them know I'm still thinking about it. It's something that these are issues that need to be addressed. And hopefully they'll grant me a phone interview and people can then become more educated on rules, guidelines, laws, and what we can expect in the future. I think maybe those questions overwhelmed them. They're more worried about how many people are falling off of scooters than whether or not bike lanes will be through the city. I don't know, giving them the benefit of the doubt. But I'm going to just start turning the heat up a little bit and try to get a response from them. All right, that downer part of the episode is behind us. Now on to the fun stuff. How many of us can take time off from work and away from our families to jump on a scooter and ride 3,365 miles coast to coast? How many of us would want to? I would maybe like to do it a little bit at a time, but I know someone That's the guy who already did it. Just imagine the adventures you would have, the people you'd run into, and the things you would see. Well, we don't have to stretch our imagination too much, because we got a guy who actually did it, and we can ask him anything. He'll answer. 0 to Epic is that man. So let's get to the fun part of episode 25, the Silver Week anniversary of the Electric Scooter Podcast. Again, we met in the beautiful city of Blue Diamond, Nevada, nestled in a corner of Red Rock Canyon. We were sitting outdoors, so you're going to hear birds flying by and twittering and maybe occasional belch from a restaurant customer or a waitress carrying some plates of food. But that's okay. The ambient noise contributes to the ambiance. Anyway, let's get to it. I really wanted to know, what were the cool states you went through, or what were the fun states you went through? So here we go. Let's get back to that part of the interview, all right? 0 to Epic in Blue Diamond, Nevada, answering our questions. So now I'm sure our Scooterhead listeners would love to hear some of the highlights of the interesting, the coolest, the funnest, the best looking states that you cruise through, because I gotta imagine some of them are just flat and there's nothing for miles and miles, and that's okay. You know, the people are nice, they're good people, and they have other things to do. And in some states, probably more mountainous, more fun maybe for a scooter. And some of them had highlights, like you said, you'd never expect, like a breakfast pizza and, Casey's and the different things that you experience. So could you just hit a couple of the highlights of the states that you particularly enjoyed and why?
Yeah. Coolest is an interesting word, right? Because what is coolest? Is it seeing things? Is it the scooting part? Is it, the safety? Like, so I'll cover.
Probably a combination.
Yeah, so it's different states were different. They were cool for different reasons. So I started on the East Coast. Massachusetts was beautiful. I enjoyed that. Then going into New York and upstate New York, Finger Lakes region. So beautiful. So beautiful. I really enjoyed that. I had never seen it, so for me it was...
Rolling. It looks like postcards.
Yeah, it looks like postcards. I mean, some cities... There was a city called Skinny-Atlas.
Yeah, Skinny-Atlas.
What a beautiful place. I mean, it's insane.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so beautiful. So I saw a lot of small towns, and most of my trip was small town America. US20, which I took, runs from coast to coast, 3,365 miles. So I really enjoyed New York. Then getting into Ohio was okay. Still Finger Lakes, so it was nice. Indiana. I'll tell you what, Indiana roads aren't so great, but I did go through one stretch, which was Amish country in Indiana, and that was gorgeous. It was. I had never been to Amish country, and I didn't realize I was in Amish country. So I saw this guy on a horse pulling this little buggy. I was like, wow, that's interesting, And then as I got close, I was like, wait a minute, it's an Amish guy. And then Dagwood, you start seeing more and more, and they're all on the shoulder of the road. And then you start seeing dozens. Just Amish people, boom, 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 on their horses and their buggies and their farms. They all live in farms, and
are they all like blasting gangster rap music? No,
they're the nicest people. You see them in like movies, and there's like the stereotype. Oh, they're so nice, and they speak with a German accent, and
helpful.
They have the beard,
They help their neighbors. Yeah.
Amazing. And then I saw this ice cream like little truck. And I said, I'm going to stop here and have an ice cream, And then it was Amish owned, and they were just so friendly.
So
they had never seen an electric scooter.
Fresh ingredients, I'll bet the ice cream was like hand churned, natural flavors.
And there was this really friendly lady who was serving the ice cream, and then her husband was also there, and he was like, "It looks like fun." And it's like, yeah.
They have a German accent.
They have a German
Amish
accent. Yeah, they speak German as well, and. I was like, yeah. He goes, what is that? And I said, it's an electric scooter. He goes, I've never seen that.
You speak German, though, right?
I do.
Did
yeah.
you try and converse with them in German?
I did not. I just said hello. But yeah, they had never seen electric scooter because I guess they don't watch TV and all that. So it was like a foreign. But anyway, Amish country is beautiful. Not just are the people nice, but it is beautiful. It's super interesting. You go through a little town and, all at the stoplight, you have a couple cars and you have like 8 horses with their buggies and everybody just waiting to cross. It was really, really interesting, but it was beautiful. I really enjoyed it there. And in Illinois, roads are crap. Shoulders are worse. The people weren't very kind to me. Other than the people that I met that wanted to scoot with me, I met some guys over there, especially these guys from SCOW, the Scooter Club of Winfield. I think it's the largest scooter group in the United States. And they're just outside of Chicago. Met with them, had some hot dogs at Portillo's, which they call Portillos, but it's 2 L's. So I think it's Portillos.
They probably call them Portillos.
They do. They call them Portillos.
Portillos.
And so I said, we're going, Portillos. They go, no, it's Portillos. I was like, okay, whatever.
Where do you think you are,
say.
young man?
Yeah.
This is not Mexico.
So we went there. It was delicious. The people were awesome. So, so I met some great people in love with the cars. And, I was riding a scooter. The shoulder was inexistent. It was destroyed. I could not ride the shoulder. It was like impossible. So I had to ride on the street. The cars are going by 65 miles an hour. They're cussing me out, giving me the finger, honking.
Yeah, that's a game that kids play when their parents are driving through Illinois is how many birds can they count? How many times they get flipped off?
Right. So anyway.
What'd you get, like 11, 12 maybe?
I don't know.
You weren't counting?
I wasn't counting. Plus the ones I didn't see, right? Because I'm looking at the road.
Right.
So they weren't happy with me. I wasn't happy with them. So Illinois was... I saw some pretty parts. And the funny thing is I'm riding through Illinois and I'm hating it, right? I'm like, I can't wait to get out of this place. And... then the very end, just at the very end of Illinois, it becomes really beautiful. And I told Brian, you know what? They do this on purpose. Like you cross the whole state and you hate it. Then they leave you with this
a memory.
It's not that bad.
Yeah. Is that where Winfield is? Or Winfield's? You said south of Chicago.
Yeah, it's just somewhere near Chicago. I don't know exactly where, but they were awesome. They treated me to dinner and they scooted with me, so it was amazing. Went to Pennsylvania, which was a brief but illegal riding because scooters, I guess, are illegal over there. So I'm told. And Paul Somerville was asking me how I was going to make it to Pennsylvania.
Yeah, I remember that. Which, kind of put you on the spot.
Which I'm happy to say I did.
I would guess that the police there probably aren't really up on all the latest rules. And even if they were, he probably wouldn't care. He wouldn't hassle
anyway,
you.
But I made it. I made it through. Then
they're looking for speeders because that's where they make money.
And I never got stopped once by the police, by the way, on my entire trip.
Oh, great!
Yeah, I ran through into a lot of police on the side of the road, checking speedsters, and they just look at me confused,
right?
And they let me go. So that was great. So anyway, then I started going through the Midwest, and oh man, once you get into Nebraska and Iowa, and then Nebraska after that. It opens up and there's no traffic. It's just you, and it's just so. That was very cool. I'm riding without stress,
like in a serene kind of way.
Serene, and after going through the East Coast and going through Cleveland and Chicago, I'm tense. And you get into Iowa and it's just open
nobody's
roads.
flipping you off.
No.
Birds are landing on your shoulder and whispering sweet nothings
People are
in your ear.
nice. So then, and then Nebraska, it's even more open.
Pretty girls milking cows on the side of the road. Waves of wheat, right?
Oh, yeah.
Corn and wheat.
So the corn actually was, now it's like all growing. So there wasn't, it's like they're just starting whatever. Anyway, but to me, it was just like I would go 10 minutes and not a single car would come either direction.
Nice.
So I took pictures of myself laying in the middle of the road, just like the scooter in the middle of the road. I'm taking videos like look one way and it's just like endless road straight, and then I look the other way, endless road the other way, no cars. It's like heaven for a scooter. So that was cool. And then of course you start going through the to the west side, and Wyoming is so beautiful. It's getting really country and cowboyish. So I enjoyed that. Then Yellowstone National Park was just
that had to be the highlight, right? Yeah, that's what I was going to
guess. Probably the highlight of the trip. I mean, saw so many bison.
Yeah.
I mean, hundreds. Saw bears. all kinds of animals and deer you see and everything is wild, right? Animals are just everywhere running around. It's such a cool feeling and cool to see. So Yellowstone was great. Then Idaho was pretty. I really liked Idaho. And then I ended in
Did you
Oregon.
go through South Dakota at all? You did?
I did. I did go in there. Our hotel
you
was
just
our
dipped
hotel.
in.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
okay.
dipped in there. So we stayed in South Dakota for the night, and then
Because right before Wyoming, I remember thinking South Dakota was going to be one way, but it was really beautiful. I was just shocked, at how beautiful South Dakota was, where Mount Rushmore is and all that. And then we did dip down south and then back up north into Wyoming and probably pass down I'm sure US20 the same as you, where the bison are on the side of the road. And yeah, don't pet them.
Yeah, don't pet them. No.
There's YouTube videos of people getting bucked by bison.
Yeah, they were pretty mellow. I got pretty close to them, but not close enough to be dangerous. But yeah, so it's hard to pick a state. And then you go to Oregon. It's so lush. I mean, it's beautiful. And you see so much. It's so much. So the states are cool. I mean, I know I probably should have picked a couple of states, but the whole country in its own way is just beautiful and so much to see. So yeah, so those were some of the highlights in the states I went through. That was my experience.
That's awesome.
One of the towns Zero to Epic was talking about was called Skinny-Atlas. And I thought, well, skinny like thin and atlas like maps and stuff. No, it's Skaneateles. Skaneateles. And I'd never heard of it either. Just a small town along US20, but I looked it up, and it looks like a pretty cool place. I gotta agree with him. I mean, I haven't been there like he has, but he says it's cool. I'm guessing it's cool. It's at the top of one of New York State's Great Finger Lakes. And it's just supposed to be a charming, laid-back little village in central New York. They have less than 10,000 people, but being on the lake, there's a lot to do. And apparently people from Syracuse and Rochester vacation there. So if you're living in Rochester, hey, not to put down Rochester, but yeah, you might need a vacation. And the pictures that are on the interwebs of Skaneateles just look beautiful. Skaneateles Lake. Now, I imagine you got to be careful of ticks. I mean, you're in the northeast part of the country. Ticks, Lyme disease is a big deal. So I always temper these beautiful views with that. Be careful when you go out into nature. You got to check yourself before you wreck yourself. Every night before you go to bed, you got to check your body for ticks. That's not something I'm interested in doing, but people in that part of the country do it. So they got swimming, they got boats, all those things that come with lakes. They got nature trails. There's a lavender farm, a beautiful lavender farm on Maui that I used to go to. But there's a beautiful lavender farm here in Skaneateles too. They got waterfalls. Anyways, it was just a surprise to me. It was a place I had never heard of and didn't expect either. When I said, "Hey, where were your coolest places?" "Oh yeah, Skaneateles." Huh. Okay. But that was Zero to Epic, and this is the end of episode 25, numero 25. And I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. Zero to Epic, again, spreading the word of micromobiles, as he calls them, across these United States, saving our planet, putting smiles on faces. People who didn't know what scooters even were before are going back home and checking out the internet to see what's available and whether it's a possibility for them. Again, I'm in it for the fun, and I'm sure there are people just like me out there that will look up scooters because they like having the wind in their face and standing up as opposed to a motorcycle, sitting down, or a bicycle or an e-bike or those types of things. Nothing against those. I like those too. I own those. Skateboards, electric skateboards, e-bikes. I've got them all. Motorcycles. But I really enjoy standing up. cruising around on an electric scooter. And I think you will too if you haven't done it and you're thinking about taking that plunge. There are a lot of people across the United States who have it on their minds now because of Zero to Epic. Watching him on their local news, seeing him go through some towns, they made a deal about it. Like, hey, here's this guy, and people would say hi to him and recognize who he was on the street. And that didn't happen when he got to Oregon, his final destination. But that's another story. Because if I were the mayor of Newport, Oregon, I'd have thrown him an environmentally friendly ticker tape parade and handed him the key to the city. Till next time, keep the shiny side up and the dirty side down.